Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mayday Network. I am Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginsky, and this is the Dispatch, where we try to bring you stories we think you should know about. We have some new news. I guess there was an exclusive from the New York Times about Graham Platner, who's the Democratic Senate candidate in Maine. We want to talk about that because, well, we think it needs to be discussed. Before we get into that, though, Julie, how are you doing?
You know, Michelle, I'm not so great. I got to be honest with you. And part of it has to do with what we're talking about, Graham Platner, because it's all part of the same through line. Mm-hmm. It is very hard, friends, very hard these days to be a woman in the Democratic Party. It is very, I know somebody's saying I have a bad connection. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to leave and come back.
Okay.
So keep talking, Michelle. I'll be back.
Okay. I think what Julie was going to say, hi, everybody. And, I'll let her, kind of elaborate a little bit more when she comes back. But it's very difficult right now to be a woman in the Democratic Party, to be a woman at all in politics. I mean, it's never been super easy to be a woman in politics, but I think particularly now it's not, it feels not great because it feels like we have to accept a lot of garbage and a lot of bad behavior, and we're supposed to excuse things. And to what point or to what end, I really don't know. And then to also be a Jewish woman, I think in this space is also, and Julie, I don't know how much you want to talk about that today, but
I do want to talk about that.
It's pretty bad.
I do want to talk about that. So I am frustrated. I am angry. I'm tired. I haven't slept in a couple of days, and I just want to vent for a second if I can.
Yeah, of course.
There was an election in New Jersey on Tuesday for a primary election. One of the races that I was working on was for a candidate, a centrist. It's not a centrist. He's progressive, but I mean, he's not, like on fire, burn the house down guy. Mm-hmm. And is my still bad?
Yeah,
okay.
It's pretty
well, sorry guys.
It is what it is. Yeah,
it is what it is. Hopefully you can hear me. He was running against a field of about 12 other people, but one of the people running, the guy who ultimately won, is a guy named Adam Hamaway. Adam Hamaway is I'm going to say the good stuff about him first. He is a combat veteran. He was he's a surgeon, a plastic surgeon, a doctor. Mm-hmm. He saved Tammy Duckworth's life in Iraq, having been in the military. He served for, I think, a few weeks or a few months. I think it was, I don't know, maybe not too long, in the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, where he treated patients under incredibly dire circumstances, horrible circumstances, all of which is wonderful. However, he was also somebody who, from the age of maybe 14 or 15 until he went to medical school, which is when the person in question was indicted and arrested, was an acolyte and in the inner circle of a man named Omar Abdel Rahman. And for people who don't remember 1993, he's otherwise known as the Blind Sheikh. The Blind Sheikh is the person responsible for trying to blow up the World Trade Center in 1993. He was inspiration for Osama bin Laden. He called for jihad against Jews everywhere. He called for jihad against Americans everywhere. He was attempting to assassinate Hosni Mubarak, the former president of Egypt, because Mubarak was not radical enough. He's a terrorist. He's Osama bin Laden. He's Beta bin Laden. Mm-hmm. Somehow he was allowed to have a visa to the United States despite all of this. He preached in a mosque in Jersey City. He preached in mosques and by mosque, I mean a second floor walk up in Jersey City, which at the time was kind of a bad neighborhood. Ultimately, of course, after the 1993 bombing, he was indicted and tried and convicted and spent the rest of his life in prison, where he died, as he should have.
Yeah.
Adam Hamaway was his acolyte. He traveled with him. He was a follower of his. He was in the inner circle with him. And he won this primary. And he won this primary without ever explaining his relationship to the Blind Sheikh, other than to say that it's Islamophobic to ask. And also that he had no choice but to follow this blind sheikh because as a young Muslim growing up in New Jersey, there were not many options. And finally, he said, and I quote, I'm actually going to pull up his quote because I think it's important to read. He told the New York Times about the blind sheikh, he wasn't preaching death and destruction all the time. He had certain views that he spoke in certain forums, but that's not what he did every single day. Friends, let me unpack this. If he had preached death to Black people and his name was David Duke, he would not have gotten through a Democratic primary. If Black people or gay people or Catholics or anybody on earth raised questions about why somebody was preaching death to them, they would not be accused of Islamophobia. But when it comes to the Jews, it's okay. It's okay. And this guy won in a landslide. And I might add, AIPAC could have stopped him, but chose to sit it out because from AIPAC's perspective, it is better to have a guy like that in Congress so they can go to Jews and say, hey, Jews, why are you voting Democratic? You should vote Republican. Look at the crazies the Democratic Party is elevating.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally think AIPAC in many ways is doing more harm to the Jewish community than
1,000%.
and any of these people, but that's not the point. The point is when this guy, and this is part of the Graham Platner thing, when this guy won, I simply said on social media that as a Jewish person, I had concerns and I had questions, as in, why did you not walk away when you heard him preaching death to Jews and not death to Israel? He was preaching that too, but death to Jews here in the United States. Back in 1993, remember what was going on in 1993? Well, before 1993. Remember what was going on back then, Michelle? Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat were trying to have a peace deal. You could not accuse the Israelis. You could not accuse the Israelis in the early 90s when this guy was preaching, late 80s, early 90s, of being what they are today, the Israeli government. They were trying to get to a peace deal, which would give the Palestinians their own homeland, including parts of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Yasser Arafat got 98% of everything he wanted, and he walked away from it. And he walked away from it because he said to Hillary Clinton, if I take it, I will be killed by my own people. Translation, I'll be killed by people like the Blind Sheikh who don't want me cutting deals with Jews. They had the opportunity. Bill Clinton said it was the biggest missed opportunity ever for Palestinians to have their own homeland. So this is not like he's preaching death to Benjamin Netanyahu's government. And what's so frustrating about this is we are supposed to sit here and take it. And then I have a conversation with an African-American friend who's pretty big in the Democratic Party nationally. And I said to her, what's going on here? Because it used to be back in the day, the Black community, the Jewish community worked on civil rights together. The Freedom Riders were Jews. They were the ones who went down there to fight the Klan from the North, and they died for it. And she said, yes, 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 that's true. But you know what the problem is? Somewhere along the way, you guys became too white. And Shelley, yes, there are a lot of people being accused of anti-Semitism in this country because they criticize Israel. You can criticize Israel all you want. Israelis criticize it every day.
Yeah, as you should.
You should. That's not anti-Semitic.
Bibi Netanyahu is a monster and authoritarian.
But please don't conflate my concern about somebody who is hanging out with somebody preaching death to Jews with Israel, because I'm not Israel first, friends. I am an American. The only people who are Israel first are Israelis. Yeah. Jews who live here are not Israel first. We're just scared shitless about the fact that there's a guy going to Congress from the Democratic Party who will immediately become the poster child for Republicans, believe me, who is hanging out with a fucking terrorist, preaching death to Jews. And again, I say to you, Michelle, if he was hanging out with David Duke or the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, people would not just say, oh, well, that's okay. It's Islamophobic to point that out. Anyway, I point that out on social media. The rash of shit that I get from
it's crazy. It's crazy.
The rash of shit I get from people I helped to elect. I have probably elected more Muslims than all these fucking keyboard warriors on earth combined. The rash of shit I get about Islamophobia. Well, he had no choice. There were no other options. Tell it to somebody else, friends. I grew up a town over from where this guy grew up. My best friend, I don't want to be like some of my best friends are Muslim. My best friend really in real life, the godfather of my son, she's Muslim. Her parents were literally, I call them mom one and mom two, dad two and mom two, because that's how close I am to them. They're Muslim. They helped build and fund a mosque down the road from where this guy grew up. He did not need to drive 3 counties over to hang out with a terrorist. He could have gone over to the good old Central Jersey, real place, mosque, which was wonderful. And he could have listened to, I've been to that mosque because I was so close to my friend. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. So the rash of shit, and the reason I want to talk about this in the context of Graham Platner, Michelle, I'm sorry for venting, but I'm so, the level
I
of,
know. I listen. I mean,
the level of anger I feel. Do you understand that you're pushing Jews out of the Democratic Party?
That's what AIPAC and these people are trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. That's what the end goal is here.
Do you think
very obvious.
Do you think that these Jews in Central Jersey vote for a guy who said, well, you know what, he wasn't preaching, what was the quote again that he told the Times? He wasn't preaching death and destruction all the time. Oh, okay, well, Hitler wasn't killing people. I mean, he was killing people all the time, but he wasn't talking about it all the time. Sometimes he talked about electrifying the Ruhr and like creating jobs for Germans. Right? Mussolini get the trains run on time. He wasn't talking about fascism all the time. And then we get to Graham Platner with this fucking Nazi tattoo, which would have disqualified him if he had a Grand Wizard Ku Klux Klan thing on his chest. He would have been out the door like that.
I honestly thought when that first came out, like months ago, whenever that was, I thought that really was going to be the end of it, because, you know, in the same breath, people were talking about some old posts that or things that he said about women or something like this. Miss Banks in the chat, yes, he blamed rape victims, correct. And the thing is, no one gives a shit about women. I think that we keep learning this over and over again. No one really cares about us or what happens to us. So that's not really going to change anyone's mind. But, you know, maybe this will. But it didn't. And because the thing is about white guys in this country is they can just say, oh, I've learned, or I didn't know, or sorry, I didn't realize what I was doing. And that's all okay. And they're given the benefit of the doubt. If you are part of any other group of people, whether that be, you know, African Americans or the Jewish community or women or Latinos, like that, you are not afforded that, you know, that grace.
Yeah.
And this guy, again, years ago when John Fetterman was running in the primary, I was shouting from the rooftops to people, don't vote for this guy. He is cosplaying working class. I came from working class America. I came from blue collar America. I understand. This guy is faking it in his gym shorts. It's bullshit, because this guy grew up with wealthy family who has literally paid his way in order to run for office his whole life. And lo and behold, here we are. And I look at somebody like Graham Platner and I look at his bio and I'm like, he went to Hotchkiss? Are you kidding me?
It's a good school.
Hotchkiss, just so people know, because I went out, I very, very briefly went out with a guy who went to Hotchkiss when I first moved to New York. It is a very exclusive private prep school in Connecticut. Like regular people don't go to school there. Regular people don't go to school there. So again, like, I mean, so there's that. Okay. So, you know, and okay, he does the oyster thing. Fine, whatever. There are more and more details, and it's drip coming from this guy. And I know that there are senators on the Democratic side who are now starting to have some more concern about his campaign. Is there going to be more? Listen, when there's smoke, there's fire with these people. Because let me tell you, I read about this guy. I read about his behavior. I read about the things that he has said. And like, no, not everyone is perfect. No one's asking for anyone to be perfect. I understand people change, people grow. Everyone's afforded that grace. However, there is a pattern of behavior. There is a pattern of treatment of women. And in my opinion, how a man treats a woman says everything about him. And I have known men like Graham Platner in my life. And I have had to heal from people like Graham Platner in my life. And this guy has sent off my spidey senses since day one.
Well,
And there's an exclusive report out today from the New York Times that elaborates more on the stories that we've already known about.
look, there's a story of him being not great to women who he dated 10 years ago, if not longer. I'm going to say this. I think it's kind of shitty of the Times to go out and find ex-girlfriends of people.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, we all dated people who I'm sure would not say that. Although I have to say,
I know you're always like, oh, I'm friends with this person.
I'm friends with all my exes. Actually, I hope
I'm
I
not
do
having that experience.
Yeah, I hope not. But as a general matter, I think we've all dated people who would probably say, anyway, but there's a quote here in the Times that I want to read from a woman named Lindsay Fifield. And this is how they
Well,
describe.
yeah, can I just show people, just because there's some people
Yeah.
in the chat are like, that they don't know what's going on. This just came out in the last couple hours from the New York Times. And it's the headline is several women who dated Graham Platner recall an unsettling behavior. Okay. And we can go through this, but I just want people to see the headline that this is an exclusive with the New York Times. And this is reporting that they've collected over the last few months. But Julie, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a woman named Lindsay Fifield, and this is how the Times describes her, a Virginia conservative who has worked for right-leaning groups and Republican campaigns. She recalled him as cavalierly contemptuous of women's emotions, of her quote-unquote weakness. Okay, that's very amorphous to me. Maybe they had a bad relationship. I don't know.
Whatever.
She dated him from roughly 2013 to 2015. And she said his offensive online posts reminded me of just how much he hated women. Now, his argument is that that's when he was self-medicating and he was going through depression, PTSD because of his service in the military. Okay, I'm going to give this guy every benefit of the doubt here to say he's a different person today than he was in 2013 to 2015, which was over a decade ago. However, I'm going to read again from the Time. Mr. Platner's insistence that he did not know that his tattoo was a Nazi symbol until it became a campaign issue last fall was simply not true, Miss Fifield said. After all, she said, he had taught her the word for it years earlier, referring to it as quote-unquote, my Totenkopf. His campaign denied that he knew what the tattoo stood for. And then he said, of course, he too often self-medicated with alcohol and was far from perfect boyfriend during what he described as a very dark period of my life. Okay. I find it hard to believe, friends. And believe me, I really want to believe, because I really want to pick up this main sentence.
Oh my God, same.
I mean, so for anybody who's like, I can't believe you guys are doing this, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to fall into the trap that Republicans.
What else have we been talking about for the last year? If you go back and watch all the videos of Julie and me and talking to other people about this, all we want is someone, we don't care who you are, come along, because we're tired of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's lip service and do nothing bullshit. We're like, somebody come in here and do the job and say the things. But to what point?
You guys,
to what end?
I don't want this party to slide into what the Republicans slid into, which is they're so desperate for power.
Correct.
That, and look, I'm believe me, I get it. A vote's a vote. We need somebody to vote. We're not for Chuck Schumer, but we
thought that about John Fetterman too. But
we want somebody to vote for whoever Democratic leader is going to be. Even Chuck Schumer is much better than John Thune, right? We need the Democrats to take the Senate back. So we're not naive to the fact that we need Susan Collins to lose. We need Susan Collins, and more importantly, we need to pick up more seats than we think, because John Fetterman's going to either vote Republican or completely hijack.
Or he's going to just switch parties. Although I think he's more powerful probably as a Democrat than he would be as a Republican.
Exactly. But so I just want to be clear about that. But the part that I just can't live with, I'm sorry, I don't that he did not know what the tattoo on his chest was. You come on, you guys, come on.
You're either so aloof or stupid enough to not know, which I don't think qualifies you to be a United States senator, or you were lying. So which is it? And that's where I want to walk through a few of these, because I did some screenshots from my phone of the article. And, they talk about his volatile and toxic relationships, and they talk about the Nazi tattoo, but there was a couple other things here that really kind of sent me to the bad place. And one of them was, says here, Mr. Platner, who had overlapping relationships with other women while he and Ms. Fifield dated, also referred to women as hatchet wounds, a crude term for the female anatomy. This is what he thinks about women. Again, like how these men talk about how they treat women. And there's another thing, and I don't even know where I have too many of these up here and they all look the same, but there's one in which one of the women talked about that he was really rough with her, like physically, very rough, especially when he would get angry. And there is a quote from this ex-girlfriend that says, "He never hit me, he never punched me." I'm just going to say this. If you have to say he never punched me, that's not a good sign. And so, to what end are we going to accept? And I say this on the anniversary of the 19th Amendment passing today. I got the reason I left one of my old jobs was because I never wanted to work for another toxic male driven organization ever again. And I made that pledge to myself. And I understand that we have to make concessions, and I understand that we have to have compromises, and no one's looking for perfection here. But I mean, for God's sakes, have some decency. And I understand that the way that he speaks and communicates is very refreshing to people. I get it. I get it. When I first heard him, I thought that too. But there's a line for me. And if you want to continue to support him, that is your business, and that is absolutely your right. I don't live in Maine. This is up to the people of Maine, right? But
Well, it's interesting. I
yeah.
spoke to so I don't know if you know this. I did my very first campaign up in Maine in 1996. It was the very first congressional race I did. So I still have friends up in Maine. Maine's a very different place. Like everybody always says, oh, like my town is different, my state is different. Like Maine really is different.
Yeah.
It's they're a very, very different place.
My best friend lives in Portland. Yeah.
Yeah, but especially downstate where he is, where that's and it's just it's a unique place. And so I spoke to a friend who is a 5th, 10th generation Mainer. Like I don't know, she's lived, her daughter lives there, she's lived there, her mom lived there, her grandma lived there, like everybody's a Mainer. And I believe she lives in Bath or Bangor now. I forgot. I know she moved to one of the two. I forgot which one. But anyway, she lives in southern Maine. In Maine 1, by the way, which is, so Maine has 2 congressional districts. There's Maine 1, which is Shelley Pingree's district. It's a liberal part of it. And Maine 2, where Jared Golden is much more conservative. And so Jared Golden always has to pretend that he is a Republican because that's how you get elected there. Before Jared Golden, it was John Baldacci. Same thing, Democrat. So like Olympia Snow was a congresswoman in Maine too. It's just a conservative. Yeah. Anyway, I said to her, because Maine is they elected Angus King. Like it's a weird, it's a weird place. And I said, what are you going to do? She's a huge feminist. And she said, I can't, anybody who supports Donald Trump, I can't vote for them. Under any other circumstances, Graham Platner would be a non-starter.
Correct.
But I think people are making pragmatic decisions.
But the other choice is so bad.
So bad.
The thing is, you have to excuse this.
But that's the excuse Republicans made about Donald Trump, right?
I know.
Yes, Trump is awful. Trump is terrible. But Hillary's so much worse.
Hillary's so much worse. And
they are putting anti-Semites.
I know.
Listen. I don't know that he said anything bad about Jews. I shouldn't call him an anti-Semite. I don't know what's in his heart. I do know that I don't buy that he didn't realize what that tattoo was.
No. No way. I don't
And
know how you put, I mean, and the other thing too, and I talked to you about this earlier today on the phone, that, you know, I think that there's a lot of like excuse for this kind of like rough around the edges stuff because there isn't, at the end of the day, you know, this altruistic kind of, greater good, idea of like what we want to do. And we want single payer healthcare. We want maternity leave. We want voting rights. We want all of these things, right? But and then you look at the evangelicals, right, or the far right, like the Freedom Caucus and the Tea Party people who came in 2010, who said a lot of the same things, not in terms of like policy, but they wanted outsiders and they wanted people who were ready, who were willing to um, do something new. And a lot of that was wrapped in their altruistic view of the world, of their religion or whatever it is, as wrong as we think it is, or how we see it, and I certainly do. Um, I sometimes wonder if we have our blinders up and we're not thinking about this, and it really, really scares me. It really does. And the way that I've seen people, I'm not Jewish. I'm not even close to being Jewish. And the way that I have been seeing people talk about Jews interchangeably using different words for the word Jew in the way that they talk about American Jews and just make automatic blanketed statements about them sends chills up my spine. And I don't understand why we are accepting all of this. I mean, it's because Donald Trump is so bad. It's because Donald Trump is this existential threat to the United States of America.
but why do the Jews have to always pay for it?
I know.
Every time.
I know.
Every time.
And women. And women.
Women, Jews and women.
And African Americans. Look, they're paying the price with, violence, losing voting rights, losing their voices in the House. And like it, in state government.
And I have to say, you know who I blame for this partially? And I'm gonna say this despite the fact, like, let me put it to you this way. If there were a primary 6 months ago, if there were a primary between Chuck Schumer and AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
I'd vote for AOC in a
I
heartbeat.
vote for AOC in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
I don't know if we agree with all this or whatever, but the point is, like, she's a fighter.
Mhm.
And not anymore.
I like her.
Not anymore. Because AOC and Bernie Sanders are going district to district and state to state, and they're anointing these people because they want the DSA to take over the Democratic Party. It is happening in New York. Zora Mondani, who is in your congressional district, endorsing like a pure anti-Semite. Like there's no couching what she's saying against Adriano Espaillat. And the reality is,
it's my district.
Yeah, and they're going place to place.
And I don't even like Espaillat.
And I don't either.
I think he's like a total do nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'm
like, come on. But it's okay because Bernie's Jewish. And so everybody's like, you can't accuse them. And Bernie's Jewish. Bernie is one of those Jews who doesn't give a shit. Bernie's an atheist. And this is not a religious thing. I don't really believe in God either. It's nothing to do, but Bernie does not identify as somebody who's Jewish. And to me, Judaism is not so much as a religion as it is, I don't even know, is it a race? Is it ethnicity? I don't know what the hell it is. It's something that is more than a religion because most Jews I know are not religious.
And it predates all of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Judaism.
So, what can you say? I mean, this woman, this Avil Chevalier, who's Zora Mondani's all in behind. And same thing, invest in our community.
I think that she might win.
I think she might too. Former organizer of Columbia anti-Israel encampment. She's more than that, right? And we must end the genocide and occupation of Palestine, divest from Israeli apartheid, stop all funding to the Israeli government, and reinvest in us. Okay, let's break that down. End the genocide and occupation of Palestine. Not occupation in Gaza. Not occupation in the West Bank. Palestine. They consider Palestine from the river to the sea. Michelle, what lies between the river and the sea? Oh, I don't know. The state of Israel. Tel Aviv lies between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan. Right? Like, want to throw Jews out of their ancestral homeland, divest from Israeli apartheid. Okay, does she use Waze? Does she use SodaStream?
Yeah.
Because guess who created that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of controversy. I remember the SodaStream stuff. People were like really mad about it. I remember that. I just, and the thing is, I catch myself, Julie, apprehensive to like say what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to, like, all these people are gonna come for me, and then I'm gonna have to start explaining things and whatever else. And I just it really freaks me out that every time I defend my Jewish friends that I get verbally harassed. And I've lost friends over. I'm like, I'm not even talking about Israel. I hate, like, Bibi Netanyahu is like the horrible, horrible man, and this government is horrible. He is a maniac. He's a murderous maniac, and everyone should stand up against Bibi Netanyahu. But that's not what this is about.
And Pierre Doan on Substack, you're saying this could be a Collins production, and perfect as all humans are. Past is certainly not prologue. Dems are, as usual, for their circular firing squad. That's what Republicans say about Trump. Right? But Hillary was worse.
Oh, yeah.
That's what people said about Kamala. Oh, I'm not going to vote for Kamala. She supports bombs in Gaza, or whatever, so I'm going to sit on my hands, Michigan. Friends, we're not suggesting that you don't vote for Graham Platner. We're suggesting that there's a primary in Maine next Tuesday. And I'm going to say something to you. If you have already cast your vote for Graham Platner, it is not too late to go to your town clerk and ask for a provisional ballot. That is the law in Maine. You can change your vote.
Yeah.
You can change your vote. And Janet Mills remains on the ballot. And
she didn't end her campaign. She suspended her campaign.
And I don't know. Listen, I know that people are like, well, she's not progressive enough. She's not this. This is not about ideology, okay? This is not about ideology. This is not about ideology. This is about protecting and Jews. Please. Because ideologically, I probably align more with Graham Platner.
Yeah, I know that I do.
Yeah.
I know that I do.
But
he checks all the ideological boxes for me.
But please.
But to what end?
To what end?
And I, when I opened my phone and I saw this, I was like, oh boy, here comes another one. Like, here comes another story. And I have to say, just the stuff about he didn't punch me. An ex-girlfriend saying he was really rough and physical. He didn't break my arm, but he left bruises. He didn't punch me. And then calling women hatchet wounds. There is this, and I'm often told and have been told for over a decade now that I need to, as a Democrat, I need to accept pro-life Democrats into my party. No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm just saying, like, I'm using that as an example of, like, I'm sorry, when your human rights are on the chopping block, and at the time, the argument was used, Roe is settled law, so you need to calm down. You're being hysterical about this. Roe is, and it never was. And I think we all knew that was coming. We all knew that was coming. And so, it's, women make up more than half the world. And yet, we are treated like subhuman by people like Graham Platner and talked about. And I'm sick of it.
Yeah. I agree. And let me add to that Jewish Democrats are this close friends. I cannot tell you the number of people who have left, who are leaving the Democratic Party who I know. Now, you might say good riddance to them, which I've heard a lot. I want your pro-genocide bullshit here. Friends, I'm not talking about Israelis, most of whom oppose Bibi too. I'm talking about Jews who hate Bibi Netanyahu, who hate AIPAC. You're looking at one. Who don't like what's going on over there. It's not about Israel. It is about being an American Jew. People need to understand their difference. And what drives me up the fucking wall, Michelle, two things that drive me crazy. One, if you're here celebrating St. Patrick's Day because you're of Irish descent, people are not automatically saying you have dual loyalty to Ireland. Okay? Nobody's holding you responsible for whatever the Taoiseach, whatever the hell the leader of Ireland is called. Nobody's holding you responsible for that person's behavior.
Yeah.
If you're Italian, nobody's saying that you're a fascist because Giorgia Meloni is a fascist and she runs the Italian government at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, this dual loyalty shit's got to stop. It's got to stop. That's one. And the other thing that I don't ever want to fucking hear from anybody is, oh, well, yeah, the Jews are just white colonial, occupiers. You know who I'll take that from? You know who I'll take that from? Native Americans. You know who I'm not going to take that from? Every white person or anybody else who is not indigenous to this land. Who, Michelle, you and I are squatting in the land of the Lenape right now. Are you willing to give up your, hey, why don't we give everything back to them? If you're so self-righteous, go sell your apartment, go sell your house, move back to, Serbia or Germany or wherever, Ireland, wherever your family came from 10 generations ago, and give the land that you're squatting on back to the American people.
Yeah.
The real American people, the Native American people.
And it, to your point, like everything has been this or that, black or white. And it's if you don't support this person or you don't support this particular, lane of this Democratic primary, you're a Democratic corporatist. You're a Republican. I'm like, what? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, how is this happening? And I say this again, people. I say this as a very liberal New York City Democrat who spent 4 years working in the never Trumper Republican, like former Republican space. I learned a lot from these people. I am telling you. I started an organization with one, Tara Setmayer, a former Republican who worked in the party for 30 years. My former boss worked for Karl Rove, for God's sakes. These are not people that I ever would have seen myself aligning with to save democracy in the United States. But they saw a line in the Republican Party that they were no longer willing to put up with. And they gave up everything. And they lost all kinds of friends. They lost contracts. They lost jobs. They lost a shit ton of money. For however anybody feels about them. I see it. I saw it close up every day. And what Julie says is true. And I'm talking to like my Jewish friends who like voted for Bernie and like I used to get in fights with them back in 2016 about Hillary and stuff, are saying to me, I'm terrified of the rhetoric that is coming out of both sides of the aisle. And I don't know what to do. And I'm afraid to speak up. A lot of them have just a recluse now online. They're like, I don't say anything.
Well, that's the part that drives me crazy. So I wrote this op-ed today. I wrote the Substack column, which has gone a bit viral because it's not for people who complain that I paywall a lot of my stuff. I did not paywall this for a reason. I want as many people to read it as possible. I'm actually going to drop it in this chat. But basically, this is the headline of it. It's an open letter to my progressive friends about Jews in Israel. Okay. And it's not too long. I urge you to read it if you're in the mood. But the number of people I know who reached out to me privately, Michelle, if I showed you my text messages today, they were exploding.
I believe it.
Who are Jewish, who are like, thank you for saying what you're saying, but they're not going to comment. They're not going to comment publicly. Never. They're afraid.
Never.
They're afraid. Do you understand what's happening here? Like, they are afraid.
Yeah. And this is going to sound crazy, right, to people who aren't Jewish, who didn't grow up with the trauma, especially if you're, a generational survivor of the Holocaust. This is going to sound like crazy to you, right? But more than once, my Jewish friends whose ancestry and lineage comes from Eastern Europe has said to me, "Do you know how many times I look around and wonder which one of my friends will hide me and which one of them will say she's in the attic?" And that is verbatim what has been said to me. And every time and again, I am not Jewish, guys. Like, I come from like a rural white upstate New York working class firefighter and cop family. Okay. And I don't know how I'm coming to this conclusion. And I'm looking around and like waiting for someone else to chime in. Like, my Anna brought me to this event for Holocaust Remembrance Day. And she was like, I want you to be my non-Jewish friend that comes. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to come, whatever. And she introduced me to people, and she was like, Michelle's, one of the good people who speaks up. She's the, and I'm like, I like immediately feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I don't need like praise. Like, that feels kind of silly. But they're like, no, you don't understand. We have to keep saying it. That's sad.
You guys, let me just say this. And again, it's like all about me, but I just have some perspective here. I've had to flee for my life twice as a Jew, twice. One time was when I was 6. We left with $90 between the 3 of us.
Yeah.
The clothes on our back, and I think 2 suitcases each. I mean, like, remember the ending of Fiddler on the Roof? That was us.
Yeah.
Because we were Jews. And we came to this country because my parents believed that there was no anti-Semitism here. And for a very long time, I lived a very charmed life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I had to flee for my life as a Jew was last summer, when I took my son to get bar mitzvahed at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. And for everybody's like, well, you had it coming. Why would you go to Israel? It's a genocidal country. Oh, I'm so sorry that the Western Wall isn't in Paris. I'm so sorry that it's not in Tucson, Arizona. It so happens to be where it was built thousands of years ago. It happens to be in Jerusalem. And it was meaningful to me to have my son not have one of these obnoxious fucking New York City bar mitzvahs where people spend $1,000.
If people know it, like outside New York, they're like weddings. It's
not
crazy.
10,000. People spend $100,000.
Oh, easily.
And I wasn't, first of all, I don't have it. But secondly, I wasn't going to do it because I think it's obnoxious.
Mm.
And so I wanted him to have a significant event that was actually tied to his heritage and not to having a DJ, and a mockery.
And hype dancers.
And hype dancers, right? Yeah, exactly.
I've been to these bar mitzvahs and
bar mitzvahs. You were a hype dancer.
Yeah. Fun.
So, yeah. So we happened to be there. I think who know Substack and have been with Mayday for a while know this. If you remember this, we were stuck in Tel Aviv because the first night that we got there after going to the bar mitzvah in Jerusalem, the Iranian war began, and all of a sudden these ballistic missiles were coming at us. And we watched the Iron Dome, the same Iron Dome that there are certain candidates like Adam Hamaway who want to no longer have, saved our lives. And after 3 days of sleepless nights and going insane, because legitimately I was a little worried about, you know what, you become a mom and you kind of realize, like, you don't even worry about yourself anymore. You worry about your kid. Like, my priority is my son, the fuck out of there. And it made me understand something. First of all, it made me become even more militant about the ending of this war in Gaza, because we at least had shelters to run to. These kids in Gaza do not have shelter to run to, which is why they're dying. So it made me much more committed to their safety. For anybody who's like massive, genocidal maniac. No.
And I just want to, like, I'm sorry, as an aside too, like, I mean, and the way that Bibi Netanyahu is conducting this is
abhorrent. So that's one. But two, you guys, we were very fortunate because my best friend, parentheses, who happens to be Muslim, is married, well, she's not married, but they're married to an Israeli who's Jewish. Shouldn't be controversial, was a tad controversial when they got together. He happened to be in Israel by sheer coincidence. He got into some shitty little car that was like legitimately, I was worried was not going to make it 5 miles down the road. And we specifically, we kind of decided when the bombs were going to start. The Iranians stopped sending bombs as soon as sunlight, as soon as dawn rose for a couple of hours. So we're like, great, let's get the hell out of here. So it's 6 a.m. The 4 of us pile into his car, and he drives at 1,000,000,000 miles an hour from Tel Aviv. Now take a look at this map, from Tel Aviv all the way to Eilat, which is at the very southern tip. So if you think about Israel as a dagger pointing into the Red Sea, from Tel Aviv, which is kind of central northwest, down to the dagger at the tippy point of Israel, where we walk like refugees. He got $1,000 out of the bank without any cash, on foot with our suitcases. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this again. Like, really? Kind of thing. Once in your life, you do this again. We walked on foot, crossed the Egyptian border, had to bribe an Egyptian guard to let us in. Literally, where's my tip? I was like, okay, here you go, bakshish. Find it. He found us. Thank God, my friend Adab found us some Bedouin on the other side. He couldn't cross because he's Israeli. So he's like, I'll just hang out in a lot and wait for you guys to get to where you're going.
Yeah.
Found a Bedouin. Paid that Bedouin $80, who thought it was like the best day of his life, because apparently that's a shitload of money for this Bedouin. Drive us for 3.5 or 4 hours to the very tip of the Sinai Peninsula now, so we could get a plane from Sharm el Sheikh to London. And as I'm driving down the coast of Egypt with this Bedouin, I'm looking across the river, the sea, and I'm seeing Saudi Arabia, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Like, Saudi Arabia, like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. The reason I say all of this is twice in my life I've had to flee because I was a Jew. And like, I don't think people who are not Jewish I mean, you may intellectually understand this, Michelle, but I don't think you understand inherently.
How could I?
We are always ready to flee because, and everybody who's like, you're overreacting, friend, it is historically because we have underreacted that it's a miracle that there are any of us alive. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm saying all of this. And by the way, for everybody who's like, well, they started this war with Iran, that's why this was happening. Yeah, you're right. It's the stupidest fucking thing they could have done.
Yeah,
so I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing it. Like, I remember, and I was talking to one of my cousins there who's married. All my cousins there are deeply liberal, but one of them is married to like a Trumper equivalent, and he's like, this is it. The night that we finally take, when the war started, he was excited. He's like, this is it. When we finally take down this murderous Iranian regime. And I started laughing at him. I said, let me tell you, as an American, my friend, what's going to happen? Much like we unleashed a shit show in Iraq, you guys just unleashed a shit show in Iran. And of course, we see what's happening now.
Yeah, look.
But anyway, that's not the point. The point, and I don't want to dwell on this, other than to say on the Graham Platner thing, what is up with accepting Nazi tattoos? What is up with mistreating women and expecting people to just be like, oh, okay, is this what the Democratic Party is? Is this where Bernie Sanders and AOC, is this where they're taking the party? Do they not do any due diligence? Is all you have to say to Bernie Sanders, hey, by the way, I'm not going to make Chuck Schumer majority leader. I'm going to make who you tell me to make majority leader. It's not going to be Bernie. He's not even a Democrat. But I'm going to make whoever, Bernie is going to be majority leader. And Medicare for all and basic universal health care.
Which, by the way,
wage. Yes, agreed.
Yes, please.
But is that, and you're not the establishment, and it's going to be somebody who's outside the party. Well, guess what? That was John Fetterman. Mm-hmm. And it's Graham Platner. And I can't, I don't want establishment either. But are you kidding me right now?
I know. And maybe this is, maybe I should even say this, but it's, I start to wonder, like, okay, I'm supposed to be okay with A, B, and C that are so not just deeply offensive to me, but like dangerous points of view and dangerous behavior towards various groups of people in order to vote against a major political party that is just like destroying American democracy and destroying our standing in the world. I mean, the list goes on, to save this other version of my country that thinks this about me. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, so the other version of this is what now? And that's kind of where I'm at in this moment, is I'm starting to feel like Hakeem Jeffries and the Chuck Schumer wing of the party has been infuriating me for I don't even know how long, for being do-nothings, scaredy cat do-nothings who stand around and are so terrified to lose their seats that they do nothing. And they do business with, like, I mean, they're doing business with the devil a lot of the time, in my opinion. But the other choice is this. Like, I'm not. I don't even know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, these are my choices. Okay, cool.
Well, and you know what we're basically being told right now, right? I mean, project to what we're saying here. Yes, Donald Trump sucks. Yes, I find him immoral. Yes, I find him offensive. Yes, I find the grab him by the pussy comment terrible. Yes, I find that
he is credibly accused of rape of how
rape
many
and
women and
what?
children.
He's not Hillary Clinton.
Right. Yeah. And he's not Kamala Harris.
Yep.
The amount of things, and I mean, I don't mean to go off topic here, but like the amount of things that are happening, from this screwworm parasite to the war in Iran to what's happening to farmers and gasoline prices and what the dismantling of CBS and 60 Minutes and God knows what else, is because Kamala Harris is not president. That is why these things are happening, because the American people chose Donald Trump. And I have dedicated my life for the last 10 years because I did other stuff, and I stopped doing all of that in order to do this, because it was the most important. Ebola, Mary, yes. It was the most important thing to me. You know what I mean? And also watching this country treat Hillary Clinton in the way that they did, because it wasn't just her. It was the fact that she was a woman, that she was a smart woman, that she was a lawyer, that she was so capable and so prepared, over-prepared. I mean, there's nothing that she could have done that was right enough for people. She was too prepared. She wasn't prepared enough. She was too friendly, not friendly enough. She's cold, but too warm. Like, it wouldn't matter. And they did the same thing to Kamala Harris. And watching this country do this now twice,
and
and then we're presented with this in our own party, and I'm just
Ricardo
like,
on
oh my
Substack,
God.
and Ricardo on Substack was like, to compare Platner to Trump is fucking disgusting and wrong. We're not comparing him to Trump. We're saying the same rationale that applied to Trump is what's applying here, right? Well, yes, all these new revelations are coming out. The Nazi tattoo, the way he treats, all of that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay, because at least he's not Susan Collins. Yeah, you're right. At least he's not Susan Collins. But friends, Republicans had the opportunity to nominate anybody but Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. And they didn't, because they liked the fact that he moved fast and he broke things. And that is what is the guiding principle behind his DSA.
Tech.
Yes.
And tech.
Yes, right? And it's this guiding principle of the DSA. We got to find people who are going to just break things. I'm with you. I'm sick of the status quo. I want to break things too, but can we please find candidates who will break things, who are not completely deeply compromised by the fact that fucking Nazi tattoos on their chest? I don't care how much PTSD you had. I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial. I've never been in war. I get that I've never been blown up. I understand that what happened to him is worse than anything that's happened to me, but we've all been through bad shit, and all of us have a little bit of PTSD we're carrying around. And never in my worst nightmare, it's like when people are like, well, I called somebody the N-word, but he was really drunk. No matter how drunk I've been in my life, and no matter how depressed I've been in my life, and we've all been there, we've all gone through some really shitty shit. Mm-hmm. Have I ever said to myself, you know what? I think I'm going to get a tattoo of a Nazi symbol, of an SS symbol, of a death, a Totenkopf.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, at worst, I like, some Chinese symbol that you don't like means
Yeah,
hamburger or something.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But I mean, like, and no matter how drunk I've gotten in my life, and listen, I was a single girl in my 30s in New York. Trust me, I've had some fun nights out there. It never occurred to me to call anybody the C word or to call anybody the N word or to call anybody the F word because it's not in my nature. Like in vino veritas, right? The truth about you comes out. None of that ever came out because it's not in my nature.
mhm.
And we've all listen. We do joke that I have a great relationship with all my exes, and I think none of them would ever say horrible things about me. I would hope. Um,
They might though.
but the point is like but I'm kind of I think an exception because everybody's had bad breakups, including me, right? I don't know why I'm so forgiving of all my shitty ex-boyfriends, but I am.
I don't know either.
But, yeah, I don't know how that is. I'm not particularly forgiving generally, but apparently I am about my exes, which is very bizarre. But so I take it with a grain of salt. Like the New York Times went hunting for X like
Yeah,
that's
they
kind of
did.
shitty. That's kind of shitty. Like the New York, and I know how the Times works. They've now decided they're going to take Graham Platner down.
Mhm.
So they've assigned to take Graham Platner down. Like I think the hunting for exes from 10, 15 years ago is a shitty thing to do.
At the same time
But go ahead, finish my
at the
thought.
same time at the
Yeah.
same time, though, it's like if you had a boyfriend who you didn't trust and you went looking through their phone and you found out a lot of really bad stuff, like they were cheating on you and they were lying to you or they were stealing your money or like, you know what I mean? Like, which
Yeah.
by the way, I that happened to me. Um, and then they get mad that you went through their phone. They're not mad that you found out this information, you have a problem with it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like the content of the information is really, really, really upsetting. It's really, I mean,
Yeah.
please, people, go read it for yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, between, he grabbed me and he would leave bruises, but he didn't punch me, or referring to women as hatchet wounds, or, and again, whatever. He's a serial womanizing cheater. Like that, that's
So
its own thing. Like,
we're
okay, what else is
absolutely
new?
all
You know
dated,
what
but
I mean?
yeah,
But
listen.
it's his treatment of women and the tattoo thing is really, it
If you
shouldn't be this hard. It
it
shouldn't be this
shouldn't be
hard.
this hard. It just shouldn't be this hard.
No.
And like maybe we should just nominate women because they don't have I mean, like this is a
I
goal.
I think about this, Julie, and the conversation that you and Olga had with Ken Harbaugh the other day. And, and I don't remember every detail of what this was, but Ken said that he had spoken to Ukrainian woman or something like that. It said, like, what are you going to do when you run out of men? And she's like, or maybe it was somebody like in Russia. I forget exactly how I'm going to like mess this up now, but the whole premise was that if women, that means women are in charge here. And if women are in charge of this war, there will not be a single Russian left alive. Like that's a Russian man rather. Because women are the ones who have to suffer the most. Like, I mean, I look at what's happening in Ukraine. If people knew the extent of what is happening in Ukraine, and I feel like I'm learning more and more every day of like, and I'm somebody who's deeply plugged in, not like how you are, obviously, on that particular issue, but like pretty plugged in. And the violence and the medieval, like, it can use the word medieval to describe the level of sexual violence that is being foisted upon Ukrainian women from being babies and toddlers to 80 years old. And it's these women who are always women are the first to be victims of this stuff. And it's for thousands of years now. And I look at my own party and like I look at the Republican Party and I see the misogyny like just kind of like frothing from the mouth from the right always. I don't want to see that from our side. And I just it's so upsetting that not only are we okay with it, we're like just kind of ignoring it and like pretending it's not happening. So, it's one issue of many, but it's deeply upsetting again on this anniversary of the 19th Amendment passing in this country, voting rights for women, white women, obviously, at the time. And now we have a pretty powerful faction in this country that is talking about repealing the 19th Amendment and taking that away from us.
And do you know how crazy and I gotta go after this because I gotta make dinner for my family, but do you know how crazy some of these people are, which is just insane to me? I write this Substack today from the bottom of my heart. It's like a cry to the party that I helped build for the last 30 years. Like I'm not a bystander here. Like,
oh yeah, people are going to be like,
I've devoted my life to this party, right?
mm-hmm.
And legitimately, this is a response that I get. I'm not kidding. On Substack from some woman named Amy Gabriel. Julie, I am here when you are ready to embrace intersectional feminism and deconstruct your internalized misogyny and white privilege. As a Gen X woman, that's the work of our lifetime. But once you realize there are no benefits for women and children in monotheistic religions, it becomes easier. Amy, honey, with all due respect, I was one of the women who kicked off this iteration of the Me Too movement. I founded a nonprofit that helped pass the only 2 Me Too laws in this country. I speak with survivors of sexual violence every day and work to make the workplace and society more equitable for women. But you are a keyboard warrior, so thanks for your thoughts. That's where we are. That's who's hijacking this party right now. Intersectional, internalized misogyny. What the fuck are you talking about?
We can pretend all day long like we you know, that
the self-righteousness and
that's like we can deny our own, truths and identities about ourselves for as long as we want to, but that's not going to matter when the Nazis come knocking on your door. That's how they see you is what matters.
My internalized misogyny, Michelle.
Yeah. Julie Roginsky of all the people. Like, are you guys
serious? Yeah, me.
Yeah. I mean, guys, if you're new here, if you're just checking in for the first time, let me just tell you about my friend Julie. I'm not going to go on and like embarrass you. I'm just saying, like, not only are you a Jewish refugee from the Soviet Union who has built a life here for yourself and worked your ass off from nothing, but, took on Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch and won, and went on to then take on the New Jersey and won, and now passes legislation that no one else has been able to do, specifically in this kind of environment that we're in, with Gretchen Carlson, and making the workplace safer for women every single day. And so for anybody to even suggest that, I mean, it's just like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, stupid. Like, seriously, Amy, go outside and touch grass. Like, go touch grass. You need to do some shadow work, honestly. Yeah, listen, and like the comments on this video are gonna be crazy.
Oh, I can't wait.
I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore.
I don't care anymore. And I don't care. And I gotta say, like, for everybody who's like low blue no matter who. Okay, yeah. We got. But guys,
like, with you,
there are primaries happening, and
the primaries are different.
We can vote blue based on character, which matters. It does.
Character is everything.
And if you have a Nazi tattoo, I don't like your character. So anyway, great to see everybody tonight.
Just really quick, Shell Ann is saying, are these on YouTube or Substack? I think that particular comment was on
my Substack. Well, yeah.
The hateration really comes, it's widespread.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. And by the way, we don't care. Like, we're gonna.
I mean, I'm getting to a point, and you're teaching me like not to let these things bother me. Like, this is why I should not be let anywhere near our social media accounts, because people piss me off. But like, you get to a point where you're just like, okay, cool.
You guys, let me tell you this. You agree with us? Great. You don't agree with us? That's okay too.
There's a million other channels you can go watch.
But if you don't agree with us, we want you to stay here and disagree with us. If you disagree with us so much that you hate us, because there's other people to watch.
Okay.
But we're gonna say. We're gonna say. That's it. We're gonna say. Because listen, I worked in cable news for a long time where you kind of knew stuff that you couldn't say.
Mm.
I'm over that now.
Yeah,
You
that's
work
not the case here.
you work for people where you kind of have to keep your mouth shut. Don't say it.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you for noticing, Kev Cox, our new Mayday logo. It is our for Pride.
Yeah, happy Pride, everybody.
Happy
Happy
Pride.
Pride. Yeah.
Okay. Great to see everybody here, and we will see you. Well, we'll see you tomorrow for Jeff Jarvis.
Yep, and the Americans will be on, Americans episode 10 will be on right after that.
But join us tomorrow for Jeff Jarvis. Everybody, I didn't post it. I'm so sorry for everybody that was looking for Olga Me today on Pax Americana at 11. Olga had stuff she had to do, so she couldn't make it. I forgot to post that, so I apologize. We'll be back next Thursday. In the meantime, we'll be here with breaking news with Jeff Jarvis. We have a lot to talk about, including 60 Minutes and
Oh God.
Pat Pelly and all sorts of shit.
And also, just as an aside, because we are going to talk about this with Jeff, there is a rumor going around that Joe Rogan is being discussed to replace Anderson Cooper. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. And Brian Stetler was like, no, there's a spokesperson for CBS that says that's not true. And I'm like, oh, that's a trustworthy source. Sure.
Well, I don't know why Joe Rogan would want to work for 60 Minutes.
Oh, I like that would be very dumb for him. He would make way less money, or he'd have to like work out a way to do both. But
yeah,
the fact that that's even being discussed is like, oh my God, this is hell. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.